Shalom, 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 Yasha. This your boy, Brother Shamwa Allah, back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called, There Will Be an Invasion Indeed. There will be an invasion indeed. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and His only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. Like I said, today's lesson is going to be called, There Will Be an Invasion Indeed. Okay? I came across this article from Jalopnik. I don't know how to say it. It says, object spotted from outside solar system the same day as in the documentary film Independence Day. Okay, object spotted from outside the solar system the same day as in the documentary film Independence Day. All right. It says, as was forewarned in the entirely scientifically accurate 1996 documentary Independence Day, this July 2nd, astronomers have detected an unknown object headed for Earth from beyond our solar system, exactly like in the film. It says on the same date, an interstellar visitor is heading towards us at a tremendous speed and with no tail apparently visible like an ordinary comet. In a press conference, President Thomas Whitmore has declared the question of whether or not we're alone in the universe has been answered. He has urged us all to remain calm. Wait, sorry, that's the actual president. Hasn't said anything about it yet. All right, they're making puns. Right? It says officially, this real-life object has been spotted, A1PL3Z, per scientists, which I can only assume will also be the name of Elon Musk's next child. It was first spotted by the asteroid terrestrial impact last alert system, or ATLAS. It says that NASA built to look for any asteroids that might, impact terrestrially. It says, while there is no risk of that happening in this case, our interstellar friend is projected to pass between Earth and Mars. It says, what is it? According to Earth's sky, it is likely a 12-mile wide asteroid or comet from way out of town that just happens to be passing through our neighborhood. But according to the 1996 documentary, it's, hang on, right? And they're, making pun. It says, in news that surely isn't ominous, interstellar visits have been getting more frequently lately. In fact, scientists only have first detected an extra solar object in 2017 per Earth's sky. This object, called Umiyomi, was, well, nobody knows what it was actually. It says, that is comforting, and I will sleep well tonight. The second object, named Borisov, was spotted in 2019 and was a comet. Sure, definitely a comet. This third object should get closest to Earth in October, and is projected to be the fastest of the three so far, around 90 kilometers a second. It says objects hurling through space are hard to detect, so the thinking is that interstellar visits like this happen with some regularity and we're only just now getting better at noticing them. It says that something started intentionally sending stuff our way a few years ago, and it's ramping up now. Maybe because we're getting so easy for aliens to find. It says, so if you happen to live in a high population city anywhere on Earth, you should just stay put and not pay any attention to this at all. After all, Independence Day is coming up. Should be an explosive time. You should definitely not believe in any UFOs. All right. It says, want more like this, right? So it's just making a pun, right? But they're saying that there's some kind of object out there. We know that there ultimately isn't, there's going to be a few objects, okay? And there's, they're making fun of like, the Independence Day movie, and how something appeared, right before that, but ultimately, there will be an invasion, okay? And people think it's strange, about what's going to happen, but the scriptures actually talk about it, okay? There's going to be an invasion from the skies, okay? And we're going to get a couple of scriptures on it, all right? Now we understand. Matter of fact, let's get this right. When Yahawashi was resurrected, when he was, the cloud came and took him, right? Let's see. Let's go to the book of Acts real quick, right? A lot of people think, oh, you guys are bugged out. You think you believe in spaceships and this. Yep, it's there in the scriptures. Okay, so we're gonna get a couple of them. All right, Acts 1, I believe it's 7. Let's see. Let's start at verse number 7, right? Acts chapter 1, verse 7, and it says, and this is Yahawashi speaking unto, it says, and he said unto them, it is not for you to know the time or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power. It says, but ye shall receive power after that the Qadash is come upon you, and ye shall be witness unto me both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and in Samaria and unto the uttermost part of the earth. All right. And right now we're in that uttermost part of the earth, man. Right here in Babylon. All right. Where the children of Israel and the children of Judah, right, are held captive and they refuse to let them go. All right. Reading on, it says, verse 9, it says, and when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. Okay, and this cloud is talking about a chariot, the chariots of Yahawah Bahasham, right, which are spacecrafts. Right? They call them so-called UFOs, right? But they're identified. We know what they are. All right, they're the chariots of Yahawah Bahasham. All right, which are spiritual spacecrafts. Okay. It says, and while they yet looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, 2 men stood by them in white apparel. It says, which also said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Yahawashi, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall come so in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. Okay, so they were kind of like awestruck. Okay, Yahawashi was sitting there talking to him, and then got beamed up into a chariot. Okay, that's what's happening in this part right here. All right, and the angels were standing next to him, and they're like, what are y'all over here, gawking at and looking up, like something straight. The same way you saw him go up is the same way he's coming back. Okay, and he left going into a spaceship, and he's coming back in a spaceship. All right, let's get that. Let's go to the book of Revelation, right? Revelations, right? 1. Let's get to the point. Revelation, Salakia, verse 7. Revelation chapter 1, verse 7, it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. All right, those clouds are talking about the chariots of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, right? They're likened to a whirlwind, a wheel in the wheel, a fiery flame. Um, what else? Like a flying scroll, right? There's many different, you know, the chariots, right? The eyes of Yahawah Bahasham, like these are, you know, there's many of them. Okay. So it says, behold, Revelation chapter 1, verse 7, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen. Okay? So just like the angel said, the same way that he left, he's coming back. And he's coming back with what? With the clouds. Okay? The scriptures say, we go to the book of Psalms, right? Psalms 68 and verse number 17. So guess what? The invasion is coming, right, with Yahawashi. Okay? It says, Psalm chapter 68, verse 17, it says, the chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. It says, and Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi is among them, as in Sinai in the holy place. Okay? So it says the chariots, right, or the so-called, you know, not so-called, the so-called UFOs, right, which are, you know, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi's spacecrafts, right, are 20,000, even thousands of angels. And it says, and Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi is among them, as in Sinai in the holy place. Okay, so they all in there. You know what I'm saying? So just understand that these, you know, they're coming, and it's gonna be an invasion. All right. When you think about it, all right, let's go to the book of what is that? Second Chronicles, right? Second Chronicles, I believe it's 16. Salakia, just give me a second. Second Chronicles 16 and verse number 9, it says, for the eyes of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to show themselves strong in behalf of them whose heart is perfect towards him. Herein thou hast done foolishly, therefore from thence thou shalt have wars. Okay, but the eyes of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi run to and fro. And this is a perfect example, man. Me and the Akim, you know, last week after teaching, right, we saw damn near about 25 chariots, man. Right, we saw at one point it was like 10 chariots in a row, just going in a row, back to back, right? And then as they was going, you know, they was going from probably from south to north. And then while that was happening, there was a chariot that was literally going up in between them. One went up in between them, right? And then we went to another location, saw about 3-4 more chariots, right? Then, you know, brothers had went out somewhere else later and saw even more chariots. All right, so they're running to and fro. Okay, and we know, you know, around this time, these times, they're going to be everywhere. Okay, and you know, the scriptures say that, you know, let's get that real quick. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. Right, Isaiah 66, verse number 15. Right, it says, for behold, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind. All right, that's talking about the UFO, right? The so-called UFO, which is the chariot of the Lord, which is a spacecraft. All right, just so if you have understanding. All right, it says, for behold, Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. Okay, because he's gonna, you know, the scriptures say that, you know, along with those arrows, you know, the ICBM missiles being shot off, Yahawashi and the angels are going to be coming. Okay, they're going to be coming to gather the elect, and they're going to be coming to also bring judgment upon this place. All right, the war in heaven, right? That war in heaven is talking about, you know, the nations with their aircrafts and their different things fighting against Yahawashi and the angels in the air. All right, it's not talking about the war in heaven where it's in the spiritual and you got the devil and no, right? It's talking about, these armies trying to come up against Yahawashi. All right, when you read the book of 2nd Ezra 13, matter of fact, let's get that. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 13, right? So when you look at that article and they use the reference of the Independence Day, right? Guess what? Where did they get that? From these scriptures, okay? This is coming, okay? But the chariot that Yahawashi is coming is much greater than the one that you saw on in the Independence Day, okay? And that was a huge chariot, right? But the one that Yahawashi is coming in is a massive one. All right, and there's there's articles about people seeing stuff, objects like going close to the sun. You see it even blocking some of the rays of the sun. There's all types of stuff going on. Okay, but this is 2nd Ezra chapter 13, and let's start at verse number 3, and it says, "And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven," right? Because what does it say? The chariots of Yahawah Bahasham are thousands or 20,000s, even thousands of angels. All right, and Yahawah Bahasham is with them. All right, so it says, "And I beheld, and lo, that man," talking about Yahawashi, "waxed strong with the thousands of heaven." All right, why did he wax strong? Let me get this real quick. Salakia. Let's go to Salakia. I hate how this thing has to load, but I want to prove that point. So it says that man waxed strong. Okay, when we go to stay in the book of Isaiah, and we're going to go to verse number 47 and verse number 3. It says, "Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen, and I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." Okay, so because he's going to be in his full strength, all right, his full power. All right, he's not coming as a mere man like he came before as a lamb. Right? He's coming as a mighty lion, as a fierce lion. All right, and Yahawashi is coming with the spiritual power. All right, so and this is talking about Babylon. Okay, when he comes and visits. All right, when the invasion happens. All right, he's coming and he's not meeting folks like a mere man. Okay. Let's go back to 2nd Ezra 13. Okay. 2nd Ezra chapter 13. It says, and verse 3, it says, "And I beheld, and lo, that man," right, Yahawashi, waxed strong, right, not meeting him as a man. It says, "with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him." Okay. It says, "And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire." Okay. It says, "And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea." Talking about Yahawashi, right? Coming from what? That sea from space. Okay. It's coming in a spacecraft. Okay. It says, "But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain." So Ezra is seeing Yahawashi, and what he looks like he's coming in is a mountain. It says, "But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it." It says, "But I would have seen the region or the place where the hill was graven, and I could not." Right? So it was so huge, right? Ezra couldn't see, right, from where it ended, where it began. It was that huge. Okay? It says, "And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet there's fight." Okay? So even though they're going to see this, they're going to be extremely afraid, But what? Yahawashi is going to put it in their spirit to fight up against them. All right? So they can utterly destroy them. Okay? Let's read on. It says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, out of his lips, a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, right? Laser beams, right? Out of these chariots, okay? When you read in the book of Maccabees, it talks about the angels who were surrounding Judas, right? And they had they were shooting out laser beams, okay? It says, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it were a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden, in innumerable multitude, nothing was left to be perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Okay? Ezra was afraid when he saw Yahawashi returning. Right? That's why it says in Revelation that all the nations of the earth shall wail because of him. All right? Because this is going to be an invasion. All right? An invasion. All right? The chariots of Yahawashi, okay? They're coming, and they're coming to bring judgment, right? Let's get it's a lot. I love talking about this, Salakia. Let's get the book of Isaiah, okay? Let's go back to the book of Isaiah. I believe it's 34. 34. No, Salakia. Isaiah 36. Man. I can't remember Salakia. Salakia. Duh. Isaiah 31. Is it 31? Let me see. 31. Yeah, call it Yahawashi. Isaiah 31 and 5. It says, as birds flying, so will Yahawashi of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also, he will deliver it, and passing over, he will preserve it. Okay? So as birds fly, right? Birds fly. Yahawashi is flying in what? In those spaceships. Okay? And when you see how birds fly in formation, they usually have that one bird in front. That's how Yahawashi is coming. He's going to be in the front, and you're going to have the angels and their chariots behind him. All right. And as birds fly, they're going to be defending Jerusalem. Okay. And you see how birds can maneuver and fly and do different things. That's what they're going to be doing in the heavens. That's that war in heaven. All right. That the scriptures is talking about. All right. The angels, they're going to be out here. It's going to be it's not going to be a fair fight. Let's just put it that way. All right. But Yahawashi is coming, right? And he's coming in a spacecraft, right? And they're coming to what? To invade the earth. All right. And to bring judgment to the earth. Okay. They're coming to gather the elect of Israel, of you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? And you of the diaspora who look like these other nations, but your lineage goes back to Jacob, right? And to bring destruction, okay, upon Babylon, and to take over the kingdoms of the earth. Okay. Let's get that. Book of Matthew. Salakia. Let's go to the book of Matthew 24, verse number 30. It says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and with great glory. And it says, and he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Okay? So Yahawashi is going to send his angels to gather the elect. Okay? And he gathers the elect out of here, out of Babylon, hey, this place is going to be completely and utterly destroyed. All right? What is that? As lightning. Let me see something. Salakia. What is that? Salakia. I'm just trying to look up something. East. There we go. Let's go to verse 27. Salakia. I don't know why I should have looked at that, right? This is Matthew chapter 24 and verse 27. It says, for as lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Okay? So that's just shows you how huge, right? And you see lightning, you can see it all the way from another side. You can see it all the way. That's how it's going to be, right? Every eye is going to be able to see it. All right? He's coming with a huge spacecraft. Okay? And he's going to be, coming and defending who? The elect. Okay? And ultimately taking over these other nations. Okay? And when people see it, they're going to be confounded. All right. About this invasion. All right. When we go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon 5 and verse number 1. Okay. It says, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness, before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. Okay, talking about those of the elect, man. Right? They're going to be standing in great boldness in the time when they see Yahawashi coming. Where everybody else, their knees is getting weak and feeble. The men of Yahawashi who have been waiting and prophesying for this, man. Right? They're going to be the ones, where everybody else is trembling. The men of Yahawashi are going to be praising, man. It says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear. It says, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, right? That man who stood in great boldness, who stood 10 toes down for the names of Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. All right? When Yahawashi sends the angels, right, to gather his elect, right? They're going to be standing 10 toes down, and the people, who were laughing and mocking, they're going to be looking like, what the hell? Is this dude getting beamed? Getting beamed up? Right? They're going to be looking. It says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation so far beyond all that they looked for. All right? Because you got people, they looking for some, pale skin, long doggy string hair, blue eyes, hands looking effeminate, just ascending out of heaven. No, that's not what is coming. Right? What's coming is what looks like a so-called black man, right, with dark skin, woolly hair, and he's coming in a spacecraft, a huge spacecraft with other dark melanated men, right, with woolly hair, and they're gonna be coming in and they're gonna be wreaking havoc and tearing shit up. Right? And nobody's looking for that. They're not looking for that. All right? It's going to be the strangeness of the salvation. Okay? And that's the invasion, right? There will be indeed an invasion. And Yahawashi will be leading that cause. Okay? To gather his elect and to bring Esau down and these other nations and to take over the kingdoms of the earth. Okay? That he may put on all the crowns. All right? So I just wanted to do this, this lesson, Lord's will. This was edifying, right? Lord's will, you can visualize it and see, this is what we look for, man. We go through, catching hell, right? And we're doing all this because we understand the reward that comes with it. If we stay diligent, we stay focused, and Lord's will, we're part of that number, all right, that will be able to stand in great boldness, all right, when Yahawashi returns. Okay, that's why it says in Luke 21, you know, pray that ye may be able to maybe account it worthy to escape all these things and to stand before the Son of Man. That's what we want to be. That's what we want to be. We want to see, all right? We want to be beamed up, right, in those chariots, right, as the bride of Yahawashi, all right? When he comes and he brings his vengeance, right, upon these nations, man, starting with Esau, Edom, man, all right? When he comes and he invades the earth, all right? So an invasion indeed is coming, all right? So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Halal, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash, peace and blessings to the elect of the 12 tribes scattered abroad, a mighty shalom to the 144,000 men, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days. Another mighty shalom to the rest of the elect out there, man. Stay diligent, stay focused, keep praying for one another. Understanding, man, this is what we're looking for. All right? Keep the faith, all right? Stay diligent, keep enduring, okay? And most of all, just keep this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding and make this your stability in these times, okay? Where everybody is bugging out, everybody's, you guys talking about space. Yep, we sure are, right? And we know, right, that Yahawashi is coming, okay? And a huge one, all right? So with that, we say a ball, and shalom.